All right. Good morning. Lesson 2 of flowers, 2 of 3. We're going to do a magnolia today. I'm just going to go ahead and get right to switching cameras and start talking about the references that we have. Yeah. Okay. So I sent you guys a couple to choose from. This is the one that I chose. Unfortunately, sometimes, when you get images off the internet, they print up really, really small. And, but this one was a large enough image. So with that being said, we'll talk 2 seconds about images from the internet for use in your paintings. Just a quick reminder, we're working in a workshop together. So, unless the rules say it's a student show or you can do something from a class, most of the time you shouldn't enter anything you did in a class in a competition. Now, an exhibit is different. They might have different rules for that. The other thing has to do with photography. So certain places will allow you to use whatever photograph you want, as long as it's either a free download, or B, you have the photographer's permission. But again, check your rules for your exhibits and competitions. And then there's places like the Pastel Society of America's Facebook page. They do not want you, or their competitions, they do not want you to use anyone else's photograph, regardless of permission. They want it to be your concept from start to finish. And that's that. Which it makes sense in a lot of ways, but at the same time, I do kind of question when somebody has, animals from an African safari. So I'm like, is that many people really going on safari? I don't know. But anyway, I'm practicing. I'm considering this practice, and that's what we're doing. We're practicing. A lot of my demos do get framed. I just want to enter them into a competition. I won't submit them on the Pastel Society of America's Facebook page. It's okay to sell. It's okay to give if you had permission, or it's a free download. So if I share something in class, it's a free download. It's also, I'm never going to paint anything exactly the same anyway. But just always check your rules. Always be respectful. If you do take somebody else's photograph, like a specific person, somebody had emailed me, they wanted to do something specific for a class, and they pulled a Facebook image from someone local. And I said, do you know the photographer? Because we have to ask permission. And they didn't know the photographer, but they wanted us to paint their painting. I'm like, we can't do that unless you know who it is. So we can ask them. And sometimes photographers don't want you to, and I get that. It's their image and their stuff. So just give credit where credit is due, and respect all the rules of competitions and exhibits and whatnot. So this was the one that I chose to use. Like I said, I could have it kind of large, which might drive me insane. Maybe a smaller one would have been easier because I could simplify it a little bit. The image is rather square. I had a 12 by 12 board, so that's what I'm working on. I'm working on a square image today. So the request, we did discuss that we would do an alcohol wash underpainting. And I've been thinking about this for days now as to how to really go about it. Because in all honesty, I probably wouldn't do an alcohol wash. Yeah, because there is a bit of white. If I would do anything, I would probably kind of do what we did last week. But we're gonna go ahead with the alcohol wash underpainting and see how it goes. because I might find that it's more helpful for me to do it this way too. So it'll be a little bit of an experiment for me too, because technically I probably would just lightly draw everything in and just start painting. And just do a direct painting, which a lot of times I do for flowers. But this could be fun. So
So Renee,
as I
I have a photo that I took of a magnolia a few years ago. I can use that, right? I mean, you don't
absolutely.
care if I do my own. I did it
No,
in
no, no.
acrylic.
Go right ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Always, if ever you want to do your own photograph, I'm more than happy for that. So if you send me, if anybody sends me updates and you use your own photographs, just make sure you send me
Right.
your reference photo so I know what you're looking at. Other than that, you're
Right.
totally fine.
Thanks.
I always share because sometimes a lot of students just want to paint along with me,
Well,
because
that
it
would
helps.
probably be smart. Oh, sorry. It'd be smarter of me to do that, I think, but
It's okay. Never, maybe not. It kind of, what it forces you to think too. So I think it can be better. It can be, there's benefits to both. All right. So I do want to set up a little bit more of a drawing in the beginning before I start this alcohol wash. I also have been like thinking about colors in my brain and staring at this photograph again for days, trying to decide what colors I want to be in the underpainting. Because at first I was thinking to myself, oh, I want to do pink underneath. And then I was like, and then I looked at the photo again and I'm like, oh, this isn't one of those pink magnolias. It's the ones that turn brown once they're done. So then I was like, okay, now there's kind of a bluish tint on some of the petals, so I could use blue, but then there's some creamy light green kind of colors. So the underpainting that I'm going to use, it's not going to be uniform. It will be a lot tighter than usual for me in terms of an underpainting. A lot of times I'm just kind of slopping stuff around and letting it drip. Today I'm not going to really let it drip. I'm going to be a little more specific. And I think I'm going to do a combination of a light blue, like a light pale blue, and a light creamy green, like a yellow green for the petals. And then for the large leaves in the background, we can you can do complementary colors. You can do a nice dark red behind there, and then paint the green on top, or you can do an ultramarine blue, and then paint the green on top. So I will decide by the time I pick up my stick. I still literally have not decided. So so I do have my skewer because I have learned long ago that I reverse angles and I don't quite get them right. I'm not dyslexic when it comes to reading, but something about angles, I go a little cuckoo. So I want to get the petals positioned properly. So I will be using my skewer just to kind of make sure I get all that information properly. So the middle of this flower has the lovely diagonal, and the bottom petals, the outer petals have a lovely diagonal. So I want to make sure I capture that. And as composition rules go, probably breaks all the rules because the focal point's right in the middle of the darn page. So I'm going to keep it basically like that. It doesn't have to be middle, but pretty darn close. Just a general little.
So can you explain, so you're using that as like your guide and you're looking at it where it is on your stick, right?
I'm not using it for actual measuring. I'm using it for angles. So
Okay.
I'm setting the size myself. I'm not worried about making it the right sizes. I'm worried about the angles more so.
Okay. like that.
Yeah, if this were a portrait, yes, we would be going through all kinds of tedious measuring, but I just want these angles to be correct.
Right.
So however you guys like to draw, go ahead and sketch out your petals like you like.
Renee, I don't mean to interrupt. I just moved from where I was in front of my easel where I was getting horrible reception. And now I'm
Oh.
just going to watch. So I'm taking
Okay.
notes.
Okay, good. I have a tendency to draw really large and then I draw myself off my page. So yeah, I'm looking at that top one. Go, oh, you better bring that down. It's going a little high. Something I will kind of measure a little bit though is the height and width of the center piece of the flower in relationship to how tall the petals are, because I don't want it to be too big or too small. I want it to be basically correct. It doesn't have to be an exact, but as soon as I set that line, I'm like, oh, that looks really big. So let's go back to that in a second. Because trust me, all I want to do is just, take my pencil and go, no, there's little curves and waves and it'll be perfect. Just draw what you see. But sometimes I just need that little extra. So yeah, the drawing section is taking a little more than usual. If we're doing landscape paintings, it's like 3 seconds and we've got a couple lines down and we're good to go. But be a little bit
It's worth
slower.
it to do it up front because so many times I've been far along in a painting and realized my angle was wrong. And,
Yes.
and you had to really go way back.
Yeah. Yep. And that's so true, especially with flowers and people and anything with architecture in it. If it's too stiff items, when it's trees, I'm fine. I'll just wing it. But easily. Yes, a tree bends. I'm kind of winging it a little bit for a second. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and check angles. You all right? So I'm also, as I'm sketching, I'm looking to see, where things land on one another. So this outer edge of this petal, where it hits this petal, to make sure that I make that bottom petal long enough. There's a little bit of an angle to it, between those 2 points. So those are the things I want to match up. So if I look at the bottom petals, there's an angle that is set with the skewer. And if I bring it over, I can see it dips down just a little bit. The length is correct, but it dipped a little bit. So I can take that out.
Which one dipped? That one?
I dipped this one
Oh,
too
yeah,
low.
yeah.
And then I know that there's an angle that's created if I'm looking between this petal and this petal, there's an angle. So now I know exactly where to start that petal. Although, if I'm building, check and see at the top here, Those top two have an angle. So somewhere up here.
Yeah.
Pretty big. And this one will come right out of it. Whoopsies, that wouldn't taste too good, right? Okay,
This does not.
so I'm gonna just check that. That's good.
Isn't shadow.
That's good. I can check these two petals, how they relate. Ooh, that one needs to get quite fatter. So I'm just kind of taking random points to see where the petals line up. So this outer petal to this outer petal, it creates an angle. So my edges should touch. This one comes out a little too far, so I can bring it back in. I just want to make sure nothing is awkwardly larger or smaller than it should be, right? Let me check how large the center is. So if I look at the top petal, 1.5. So now if I go here, it's 1. All right, so I need to make this guy a little bit taller. It just seems like obnoxious to make it taller, but I'll do it because that's the way how large I made the petals. So I have to make it a little bit taller. I won't worry about the little curly cues just yet. All right, well, that even looks a little bit better. 2.5? It was 1.5.
Oh, one more.
Yeah. All right. So I'm not going to draw the actual leaves in just yet because I don't want to get everything confused. I will pick a color for basically the background, but I think what I might do is a little bit of a color mixture where I'm going to have some blues and reds and purples, and then I'll paint the leaves on top. So I'm going to look at value and I'll go a little bit darker in some sections, maybe even add a little black to it. And then, you know, some reds and ultramarine blues where the leaves go. And then when we get to painting, I'll solidify everything. But like I said, I'm going to be a little careful. If you guys, I don't have my webcam set up. If you guys are gonna if you guys are worried about drips as well, you may certainly do the alcohol wash step while it's laying flat. Just take it off your easel and lay it flat so things stay in place. It takes an extra minute or two to dry because the rubbing alcohol is just kind of setting and cooling. But that's definitely another option that you can do. So. All right. Excuse me. Yep, swallowed wrong. Hold on. All right, now I'm going to start picking some colors. That's going to take me a minute. I do want to find, my thought process is this. I can see bits of blue. I can see bits of like the greens, the light yellowy greens. And also we know in our brain that the petals are basically white, right? So I want to stay away from gray as much as I can. I can find a grayish blue, but I want to stay away from gray as much as I can. But if I put those base colors in, when I just glide the lighter color on top, it hopefully, technically, I say this with much trepidation because the second I say something is simple is the second it's going to be really complicated.
Mm.
The thought process is if I have that light blue on these petals and these petals, and then I just run the lighter color on top, we're going to get that velvety feel from the texture of the paper, and then the blue shows through.
Mhm.
Should be a simple process. But I know, I probably just,
And you're gonna do red and dark blue.
yeah. So let's see where to begin. I'm gonna grab.
You're gonna try to do new pastels if you can.
Yeah, I'm gonna use my harder sticks if I have them.
Can you use the softer ones?
Absolutely. So if
Okay.
you do need to use a soft stick as part of your
Mhm.
background wash, just don't put down as much, because if,
It'll go.
yeah, as you know, with even the hard sticks, the alcohol just spreads it really far. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna do a little complementary, and then I'm gonna add a little ultramarine blue. So this is a nice red going in there. Nice strong red. Not even with the hard stick, I'm not going super heavy. So today's a little bit of an experiment for me too. So this will be fun to see what happens and what I like and what I don't like and how you guys feel about it. I do my best experimenting when people are watching. Guess the pressure does it. I don't know.
Renee, will this be available for, so I could look at it later and follow along?
Yeah, this one, as long as I don't mess up, then it's your responsibility to make sure I'm still recording. And then, yes, I'll post it on YouTube, and then I'll send you guys a link
Okay.
later. Okay. Here, get a nice deep ultramarine with it. Might make it a little purple, but that's okay.
Wow.
Ooh, that's a deep one.
Do what?
Oh, I'm just talking to myself.
Okay. Talk
Deep
away.
color I don't have, not in a hard stick anyway.
Okay, so if you're using the soft, just be gentle. Don't put a lot of pigment down. You don't want it to go crazy. Again, I'm just staring at sticks, so that's why I'm not doing much right now. A little bit of extra light. This is all going to kind of mush into a weird color. I'm not worried so much because it can even go into black, and I don't really care. But sometimes those little tones and those little hints of colors shine through, and it's pretty. So I'm not terribly worried. And this, with any underpainting we do, you can cover it all back up. It's not a total loss if you didn't like it.
So that light blue you're using now is looks like a periwinkle.
Ooh, it's bright on camera. It's not quite that bright in person, but it's just a nice medium blue. I wouldn't even go so far as a periwinkle. I would go as Crayola crayon blue is really,
Okay.
yeah.
And that's the purple you put down, that's like a warm purple, or do you not, does it matter?
It doesn't really matter. The hard stick that I have is just a nice simple violet.
Mhm.
Again, kind of like a crayon, like the Crayola crayon purple.
You don't have too much of a choice with the hard pastels, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I could probably wouldn't hurt for me to invest in a full set of new pastels, but
96 or the 140.
yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. So you know, there is a lot in that big set, and there's so many earthy tones. It's kind of like when you look at your set of pastel pencils, there's so many browns. I'm like, I don't use
Yeah.
brown. I don't like
Right.
brown. Okay, so now I need to find the light colors of the flower. Oh, now he's barking.
Everybody stops the roof or stuff.
Yeah, right. Let's see if I think this is what I think it is. This one could be great for under here. This is a soft. Actually, I could go darker under there. So remember, you know, don't be afraid to go darker than what it is. So this is a soft stick, so I don't want to put too much down. Go a little bit darker than what the object is, so that when we place the light on it, it has a place to live. Yeah, and pop. And again, this isn't the full painting, we're just laying down color, so you don't have to be too specific, or you know, don't fill the tube. We're going to be spreading it around pretty nicely. I'm looking at my greens because we all know how that goes. I have this little section of yellow greens. It's a little dark for over there. But it could go good in this little shadow. I'm being again, because it's a little bit more of an experiment, I'm being a little more cautious and a little extra, you know.
Are you trying to match the color, or are you?
I'm trying to get a little deeper than what's there, but in the same color family.
Okay.
Yeah, so some of the petals will have like that greenish tint, and some of them will have a bluish
Got it.
tint.
Yeah. So it's kind of a warm family you're looking at.
Yeah. And then very similar color to what I have in the center here. But I think these will be good to brighten things up. Now, our pencil lines will probably stay a little bit with the alcohol wash because we have a lighter color underneath it, but I kind of want them to stay a little bit. I'm not worried about that. All right, so the rest I'm gonna choose, I'm gonna keep those colors out because I think they'll be handy for me later. A lot of times with underpaintings, I don't use the same colors again for a while. So I'm gonna choose a light blue to put on the petals. This petal is a little bit darker than the rest, so I can go a little stronger with that blue. And again, this is a soft one. I don't want to put a lot down. And this petal seems to have a lot of blue. That one. So yeah, I probably am doing a little more than I need to be for this. But I also have that feeling like, you know, when I'm doing a seascape, the more information I can get down and settled before I try to begin the actual painting, the better. So, you know, if you have those values down nicely in the beginning alcohol wash, there's not as much painting to do stick by stick after the fact. So that can be very helpful. There's some of the deep darker shadows. We can push the dark into that later. So I'm kind of looking at mid to light tones for these. That's so bright, but I want something down. That's not even lighter, is it? I'm going through my blue sticks if you're wondering. Oh, maybe I could go into a really pale turquoise. No. Let's see what's it. Let me stop. No, that's a pale yellow. I'll probably be using this one a bit. I'm not sure how this one's gonna wash. It's pretty bright pale yellow. It might not do much in the whole wash process, but I'm gonna keep it out for painting purposes later. Okay. All right. Doesn't look like much now. How's everybody else going? Are you okay if I start to wash mine in, or do you want me to hold on for a minute?
1 minute.
Okay.
Just got the last light of the lights to do.
Take your time.
I already have a nice one green.
What's in your hand is working.
It's dark, but it's a few.
Yeah, it's neat.
Yes.
And your cup is rubbing on your. I just grabbed a paper towel because I don't want drips. So when we get to that in a second, have a paper towel handy.
So you can take that one.
Just in case I have to stop something before it goes too far into a pedal. I'm probably going to use a smaller brush, like a medium-ish, softer brush, to help me control things. For stuff this size, I would typically probably grab a fatter brush and just kind of scrub it in place. But because I want to be a little bit delicate, I'm going to keep a softer, what is this? The Fine Touch. It's a bright. Okay.
Soft brush, you said?
Yeah, if you have it handy. Always start, so once you get your alcohol ready, always start with the lightest colors because you don't want your rubbing alcohol to get muddy. So I'm gonna start with this brightest kind of a almost white. It's a pale yellow. Now it's fun too because there's so much pencil showing. The pencil itself starts to play. The pencil can stay behind, but it can also kind of give you a little bit of that tone to it.
And that was a charcoal pencil or was that a pastel pencil?
Just a regular pencil.
Oh,
Yeah. It was a 3H. I usually draw with regular pencils. The harder, the better. Just so it doesn't leave so much graphite behind. So see how light that blue was, and it's starting to, once it gets wet, it's a little bit darker. It'll dry a little bit lighter. I'm not really worried about that right now. But I'm definitely, normally I just kind of scrub away. But for right now, I'm just kind of gently moving it around, maybe a little drier than normal. Holding the paintbrush upwards a little bit so that the rubbing alcohol, if there is a drip, it runs down. Runs down the ferrule of the paintbrush instead of onto petals. I'm also looking at the direction of my strokes with the paintbrush. You can still kind of feel it, even if it's not obvious, it's just kind of there. Yeah, I got a drip. So if you use your paintbrush when it's too dry over, for this process, if the paintbrush is too dry, you're just scraping off the pastel. So if you have a little dry, if it feels too dry, you need to, keep re-wetting it. You don't want it to be so dry that you're just rubbing, you're just clearing your board, basically. So I'm sticking with all those blues. I started with the palest kind of whitish color, and I'm sticking with the blues next. The lighter one first. Now this little shadowed one, which technically probably goes into that green family, but the gray blue, the darker blue will work to get going. Actually, those pencil marks are helping me out. Getting a little bit darker. Oh, I probably should have worked on that yellow in the center. I'll do that next. So this yellow right here is a little bit brighter. Okay.
No drips, no drips, no drips.
Catch it, catch it. Again, I'm just very calmly, directionally moving the pastel. It is funny when I'm doing something even a little different for myself, I get quieter. Normally I just chat away and tell you exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And then when I'm trying something different, I just kind of get still and quiet. Like I want to see what's gonna happen too.
Probably because you're holding your breath.
A little bit. I do. I hold my breath. I do. I'm thinking. I should see the
Do that
steam
too.
coming out of my ears. And catch that drip a little bit over here. All right. So now I'm really gonna get my paper towel handy because now I'm gonna start just kind of scrubbing this in a little bit. I don't really necessarily care for any form. I don't really need a form with the background. I just want to, kind of wash it in, get something a little bit bold. Oh, there you go.
Love it. God, my background looks like the 4th of July.
It really kind of does. Like that's what's happening with mine too. Very patriotic back there. So in this scenario, I'm just, like I said, I'm just kind of scrubbing it around. I don't care about the form. I kind of like if the colors mix a little bit and you get a little red shining through or a little bit of purple shining through. You know, sometimes you might not even have to do anything with that when you start painting, you can just kind of leave it. So hopefully get a little lucky with that. So yeah, doing this part flat will probably be an advantage.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm working so slow. The alcohol's already drying in some spots. I don't think I've ever had that happen.
Mm.
That's all fresh, Joe.
Yeah. Do you need one? You can use
I'm
this
sure I
one.
have one, so.
Or turn
I
around.
have it.
Okay, I was gonna say there's a bunch of brushes behind you.
Cause the hard one would just scrape it all off.
Well, it's just, and it's, you don't necessarily get as tight of lines in some locations,
Mhm.
especially when you're trying to
Oh, right.
get up next to it. It's a little harsher.
Mhm. So this one you did all the dark blues first and then you went to the reds. Right.
Well, I just kind of worked my way around
Oh,
for
okay.
painting. I didn't really
Splendid.
do any color first because they're all pretty dark.
Mhm.
I don't mind that for a beginning so far. I'm gonna let that dry, clean out my top. Sweet. There's the party.
See, everything stops so.
That's it.
All you
All
hear
the
is
noises.
blowing the way.
I'm getting ready to take a couple of paintings to Millville, to La Bottega, and I was just thinking about it. So this one, my
That's
Black Eyed
pretty.
Susans, this one, I just did a direct painting. I just started painting and sorry, this is regular glass, so there's a little reflection. No blending, no nothing, just mark making. Background included, just mark making, playing with colors. It's actually not blue, it's more purple, but the screen's showing blue. And then,
Doing all flowers up there? Is it just flowers?
no, well, I'm replacing, I have a show that I'll be in Kennett Square, which is all
Oh, yeah.
flowers, so I'm taking flowers from, she wanted certain flowers, I'm taking those up, and so this one we did last year as our flowers class from last year, and we did do an underpainting, so I did a lot of ultramarine blue in the leaves, and I probably did just pretty dark down here, and I guess I had a little bit of yellow in the actual petals. So yeah, so a little bit of both. I do, flowers for me do kind of lend themselves to direct painting. Just kind of go for it and stay loose and just,
Yeah.
just do it, but they are so soft and delicate. It is kind of nice to slow it down a little bit and get a nice soft texture. All right, let me just take a look here. See. All right. So if you touch it and it's cool, but nothing comes off on your hands, then you know it's dry. Just being cool, the alcohol leaves the paper a little cool. So it can kind of make it, make you think it's wet, but it's only wet if it comes off on your finger. With these alcohol wash underpaintings, if you don't already know, depending on your paper, and most, UArt for sure, I believe Pastel mat as well, and a couple others that handle wet underpaintings, you can erase it off too. So if you decide you super duper hate it, you can erase it off. It's never permanent.
Now, can you put more pastel on it if I want to? Like if
And
it's
then
not dark
wash it
enough?
again.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can do, at some point though, the extra washes become pointless,
Yeah, because it's already on the tube.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can just do it with your paint.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so now I'm deciding where to go first and what to do first. And, general rule with pasteling is dark to light. We already have some of those mid darker tones in the petals. So, but we also have these nice bold shadow markings, very small, not a whole lot, but there are definite value shifts in the petals. So I'm going to start there. That original color that I had out, I'm gonna grab. I'm also gonna start testing again, 12 gazillion greens. We have them all. I'm looking at value shifts and color shifts between what's there. I'm picking up literally the same exact color in 3 different brands. Which that happens a lot. Ooh, that's nice and deep. All right, so this stick isn't going to go in a lot of places, but it's definitely over here. Right, pick the wrong goofy side. So I'm just using gentle marks to just start to place it. I'm using the nice crisp edge of this terry to go right up to the line that I have, and just pull away in the same direction that the markings of the petal go, to the best of my ability. Sometimes you just can't get your hand to turn in the exact way that you need it to. Let's get the little orangey in there. And this literally might be the only place that this stick goes. I'm going to leave it out though. And again, I'm just going to be gently, for as long as I can, I'm just going to be gently adding in the directional markings, the correct direction, before I touch anything. I want the pastel to do as much of this for me as I can get it to. So I want all these colors to kind of live for a minute. And again, this isn't my photograph, so I don't know, the conditions. I don't know the camera. I don't know versus my printer. So don't try to totally match the colors. Just try to match the value to make sure that you get the right shadow and light shapes. Let's see, there's a nice little orangey. There's just this little glow and an orange. A really soft mark. I don't want to go real bold. I'll be working this in with the other colors on top, but there's just that little hint of an orangey color kind of popping through. Oh, that's funny. I didn't even watch that. A little bit maybe in here too. I could just be seeing things as well, but. Have the goats.
On the other, I think it should be grayer.
No, not yet. I mean, it could be at some point, but for right now, no. Okay. Let's see, there's a little bit of that light blue kind of. So as I start to drag a little bit of this like lighter color right on top of that petal, make sure you clean off your stick in between.
Make sure you don't wet your stick in between.
Yeah. I'm gonna look into my purple and violet family to find a more of a colorful gray. Doesn't necessarily have to go into a blue gray, but it can go into a colorful gray. This is a nice strong value shift where the petal folds up over. But it doesn't have to be a blue gray, it could be a purple gray. So I'm gonna test some things for a second.
Purple gray.
Yeah. This one. Probably not too terribly visible with all that dark right up next to it.
Is the purple on the?
Yeah,
in
it's
the
right.
corner?
Yeah, yeah. When I start to get the green up next to it, it'll be obvious, but I think this is a nice color for these turned up petals here. You can see it a little bit better over here. So it still gives a little bit of a gray feel, but it's a lively gray, not a flat gray. And I can always add a little bit of a blue on top of it if it's too much. So I'm just working around all the petals, looking for dark, where I can place darker. This is definitely going to be a slow motion kind of a painting. We've only been at it for a little less than an hour. It feels like a lifetime. Trying to think everything through slowly but surely. And again, if you need me to look at something while you're working, let me know. You know, you can email it or you can hold it up to the screen and I'll change the screen. This is a nice blue gray, kind of a slate kind of a color. I'm still not anywhere near ready to like touch or consider blending. I'm not ruling it out, but I still have a lot of pasteling to do, a lot of stuff to put down before I decide I'm really gonna have to soften things up and touch and move and things. But I'm not there just yet. So I'm saying that as a way to encourage you not to touch just yet. This color is this is gonna be a combo because there's a little bit of green in here. And it's not the same as the one that's on the other side. But I'm gonna start with the color that's on the other side. It's a darker green. Look into that really bright. That can go a little bit darker too. So, I'm kind of keeping my sticks a little bit organized. So I've got, here, I'll show you. The camera's gonna move for a second. So I'm keeping them so I can have my neutral. There we go. The neutral blue and purple, the varieties of the greens, the pale greens, the darker green. Just kind of keeping them grouped and organized. So as I choose them from my box, I keep them separate. So I don't have to keep looking for new ones again and again. Donna had asked in the beginning if I choose my colors beforehand, and I don't. But once I choose them, I do keep them out so that I don't have to keep rummaging through. I used to just keep the sticks popped up in the box instead of laying flat, but here I'll turn to my, everything's popped up. So it doesn't help me anymore. And so I don't put them back in the box anymore. I have the storage box and I don't usually put the drawers away much anymore. So they just all kind of live where they live, and that's that. And if somebody said, you need to buy more sticks, I'd be like, I know, I do. So always need more. Okay, I'm looking for a little darker in a couple of spots. Some of this mark making is really hard to see until I start to get some of that green in there, which I might start to do. What's in my hand right now is a nice, rich gray with a little bit of purple. So in my hand, the stick looks pretty purple, but when you mark it, you can see a lot of gray, and it's got a lot of nice depth to it. So I kind of like it for just in addition to some of these little edges and stuff, just to give it a little oomph. That with my neutrals. Gonna grab that light stick that I put in the beginning. Just give a little bit there. See that. Got a 2-part fold there that I wasn't paying attention to. I'll crisp that up later, but I needed to make sure it was marked properly. I'm avoiding some of the greens for right now because just for the cleanness of mark making. If I get carried away, and then I accidentally start dragging greens into these pale petals, I will be very aggravated. And so I'll do my best to kind of move along for a little bit.
Light edge.
These petals are kind of like snow, where you think you just want to grab your white and go because you know the flower is white, and then you start to really see so much. Going back and forth between with my pale blues. A little bit of that light. I'm still touching very, very lightly. I'm not ready for, I mean, in the petals themselves don't really ask for heavy marks with the way I'm working today. If I had just started direct painting, I would probably be, pushing harder, setting them in place a little more confidently. But today I'm just kind of taking my time and going slowly and gently, which you can never go wrong with taking your time. That's for sure. I got a little heavy there because this one's super soft. It's in my hand. So Maureen, you said you weren't going to be around for that first May class. Are you traveling?
No, I did that.
Oh, right. So,
I'll need some tips for that.
okay, yeah. Donna and Bonnie are going to the Tony Elaine one too. So you can have a little gathering, little party.
I've never been to any of his, so.
Oh, okay. You'll like it a lot.
Yeah.
It's a really nice. I love his property. I love how he has it set up, and I took class. I took a class. It was the first class he offered after the barn was built.
Okay.
So it was very new, and we had a porta potty outside that we had to use because there was no indoor plumbing.
Okay.
So there's 2 bathrooms now. So many improvements along the way. But it's just a really nice.
During COVID, so.
No,
it's a big
COVID
deal,
kind
right?
of, yeah, COVID kind of. Well, I mean, I'm only speculating. I'm assuming COVID hurt things, but he really kind of threw himself into the sculpture gardens and,
Oh, right,
adding
yeah.
all the different
Big
sculptures and
project
stuff.
there.
Yeah. So, and he still likes the whole music thing. So he hosts musical concerts and things like
Yeah,
that.
I'm not aware of any of it, so I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah, you should get on his mailing list.
Yeah.
He usually does stuff with the solstice,
Uh-huh.
winter and summer solstice. There'll be a little party and kind of a thing. It's fun. Well, I shouldn't say it's fun. I'm assuming it's fun because but a lot of people go. I've never been. I'm just kind of looking at some of
Are
my
you in
creamy
white
colors. I did do a little bit from just kind of
Are they
working all
cream white or
around.
white light?
It does have a little yellow to it, but it's pretty close to white. Not much. So I've got a harder stick in my hand that has a little more cream to it than white. And I can push a little harder because it's a harder stick and it's going over the top of the soft pastel. But this can be helpful for when you just want to gently, you don't want to blend, but maybe you just want to kind of move things around a little bit. I do this in portraiture. I'll take a harder stick or a pastel pencil and help move things around. Right now, things are still a little jumbled, right? It's a little. Let's see. Since this is all pretty intense, remember to take a break if you need it. Do one of those, this is your 20 seconds to remember to stop and breathe. Definitely necessary. I thought I had some really, really pale blue hard sticks handy, but I guess I don't, which is fine. I'll do it. Oh well. Okay. Ooh. This one. I'm gonna test this. This is technically a gray from my hard sticks. And yet it totally dulls things down. So my initial thoughts are correct on that. I thought maybe if there's glue with it, it would be okay, but I think it's still a little much. Oh, whoops. Okay, so I think I'm to that point where I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of move some things around a little bit, meaning give it a little blend, give it a little softening in places. Okay, so that's the petal. So I'm going to put a little extra down and then I'm going to move it around a little bit. I'm going to take that. That's kind of green. Take that green. So this is what I talk, when I say that I kind of let the painting tell me what it needs. This is one of those instances where I'm like, okay, this was my plan to start with, and this is how I'm gonna pivot. This is how I'm gonna make a little adjustment. Just because. So I'm gonna grab some pipe insulation. Easier said than done.
I think if we were doing oyster shells, mine would look a lot more realistic.
Well, you can always pivot. It can be an oyster shell. Oh, look at me. I still never took, I didn't take any progress shots. Never mind.
Oh,
It's kind of late now, I guess.
Next time.
Next time. I said to myself yesterday too, or not yesterday. Well, I did the day before because I was at Pine Shores. And then I didn't do it. And then it didn't even cross my mind yesterday to do it.
All right.
I have to really get on that.
Reminder.
Thank you.
I will. do this with you.
I
I'll set mine
appreciate
in.
that, right? But we're all thinking so hard, we're all just kind of concentrating.
This is
I'm
usually,
kind of picking similar colors to drag, right? Just to kind of soften some things. And then there's so much tooth left. More dragging will still have that soft texture to it that I was hoping to gather initially.
Mhm.
I'm kind of sticking with the same colors at first with the first piece of pipe insulation. Remember not to use your pipe insulation for too long. It gets used up pretty quickly. I don't really want to scrub. So if something isn't really moving for you, don't worry that you didn't have enough pigment to spread around. I'm just kind of softening some things out. So don't worry if it's not moving, just set it the best you can. If you're being as slow and gentle as I am right now, there's plenty of tooth left. Right. I'm going to step back from it for a second. All right. I feel a little better about it. I feel a little better. It's coming along a little bit nicer. I think I'm going to maybe put a little bit of green around, just a little bit. Just to kind of give it a little bit of extra. So again, darker green, I can always adjust my greens. And they are kind of a nice evergreen grass green combo. So I'm just kind of placing color in the general shape of the leaf, not really concerned about exactly forming a leaf just yet. Not sure exactly how perfect I want the leaves to look. But I can just start to place a little bit. Really looks a little crazy. Make it a little bit some dark in there.
Yeah.
So this is deep kind of a teal, but it's very similar in value to what's already in the background. So you probably don't see much of those marks. But it goes nicely with some of the shadowy kind of greens that are present on the leaves. See, now I'm gonna get mad. I hit the white there. Oh well. I'll move. Okay. And then I can go in with a little bit of eggplant in a couple of spots or some nice deep shadows. That's the one. Little bits at a time. If anybody has any questions, again, feel free to stop me. I'm just chatting away and painting away.
I'm not even on my background yet.
That's okay. I just decided that I needed to move away from it kind of formed like that red has a little magenta kind of feel to it with the purple and the blue. And I just wanted to kind of move away from it. My petals, my flower petals are nowhere near completion,
Okay.
but I just wanted to kind of move around a little bit. That's always helpful for me personally, is to just kind of clear my head and look at something completely different color, different everything.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Now might be the time for me to break in my new Terry Ludwig stick.
Ooh, there you go.
Good color.
It's always fun. So it looks, well, on camera, it looks pretty, I guess the shadows doing that. So this is one of those pale pinks out of New Pastel. You can barely see the mark there. I just started to kind of use that in conjunction with the yellowy one, like the creamy one. I kind of like the way that's.
Where did you put it? Like on the tips?
I put it with
Yeah.
all of with that in here and with a little bit in here.
Mhm.
I think that's gonna help me a lot. I kind of like that combo. I do it with skin a lot, where I have the pales together like that.
Mhm.
This is. Using
When you use this, do you do it like light to dark again, or you go kind of like this?
I, color by color, because the
Yeah.
type in, yeah, so like I'll do all one color and then I'll,
All the whites.
yeah,
Whites.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, those Terry Ludwigs are soft.
Yes,
Mhm.
they are. Did you just get an eggplant or did you get more?
No, I bought 5 eggplants.
Oh, good. Good. Yeah, I'm getting ready to buy a box of eggplant too. So this stick that I have in my hand, I used it a little bit for the underpainting, and it's a harder one, and it's not even, I don't even think it's a new pastel. I think it's a cheap one from the hobby store just by the feel of it. But it has a little bit of gray to the blue,
Mhm.
even though it looks like a really bright, it would be a bright blue stick. Mixing it with everything just kind of helps out a little bit. So, you can hear me push a little harder, you can hear me scrub a little harder, and that's just because it's a harder stick and it's going on top of soft pastel. So I need to push a little harder to get it to do what I need it to do. But I still have plenty of tooth to make it do what I need it to do. And again, if you are just grazing it, any stick, any color, make sure you wipe it off in between. So you don't make mud. Got a lot of extra contrast, maybe a little too much contrast in spots. Work on that. This is a little bit of a peachy color that I feel like is just hanging out here again, reflecting off that center in a couple of spots, not many. I won't need this stick for very long. Sorry. The sticks they are a gathering in my hand. Okay. Ooh, it is 10:30. So rest your eyes if you haven't done so yet. Rest them for a second. I'm going to pause the video for just a minute. Please remind me if I start talking again. I definitely like it more from a distance. It's one of those days, not a big deal. So for me, these little swirly things in the middle, I'll probably do last because in all honesty, I'm not a big, I don't like little tiny details like that. And I don't like them probably because maybe I need more practice at them. It's one of those things that they always end up looking so stiff.
Mm.
So if I gloss over them, then they look a little bit better. So I'll probably do it towards the end and not really think about it too much before then. So this is a white new pastel, just good old fashioned white, and I'm using it again for a blending purpose because it's white and it's going on top of soft sticks. Well, there's a lot of texture down there. It'll give a little blend. It'll leave a little white, but not all white. It's not going to give you a crisp white like you might think it would, but it'll give you a little bit more of what you need. I feel like like I said before, some of my value shifts are a little harsh. So I can use the white to kind of tone it down a little. Uh-oh. What do you mean?
I combined 2 petals somewhere.
Oh, shouldn't you can
See this one right here?
oh
I think it's down here. So yeah, it's down here.
oh wait, where did you combine?
I combined this to this. Like,
Oh.
see, it's like 2
Yeah.
petals.
Yeah.
I ignored my drawing.
Well, sometimes, again, it's like, I don't remember what class it was. We talked about the whole roadmap of losing your way. And maybe it was last week with the roses, and then I
lost my way there too.
yeah. Well, that's okay. And then it's like, okay, if I could just start again and looking at that dark, and then I can kind of find my path again. Donna, you were talking about your internet connection. I ended up buying 100 feet of Cat6 cable to run directly from my modem, and I snake it all the way through my house. So I can attach it to my computer because the Wi-Fi was great for a long time, and then all of a sudden I was having so many problems with it. There was a couple of months where I had classes that I couldn't even finish, and I was so mad because that's really unprofessional. Yeah. Yeah,
They have them on sale at Costco right now too.
Oh, okay. Well,
I haven't had a problem since.
I don't mind running the cable because I feel a little more
safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's smart.
And it's not that, I don't need the cable to work on a regular basis, but I think there's something that has to do with the pull of so much bandwidth, maybe because I'm,
from everywhere.
and we're running and taping, the Zoom video is being stored, and I think it's just all of that. But I don't know if
well, like I said, because I was teaching upstairs.
oh yeah.
My husband was working downstairs. Son was online.
Oh God.
School, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And it kept doing that. We can't hear you.
Yeah.
Cutting out. So I finally researched it. I was being made just think it wasn't, so it was just me, right?
Yeah.
So must be you. I don't know. And then I bought this thing, and we haven't had a problem.
So I'm using my pinky to soften just some of where the white pastel was. So I'm not making a new color. I just wanted to get rid of some of the marks are just a little much. And I have to be careful because if I do too much blending, I'm gonna just make the flower look dull and lifeless, and I don't wanna do that. And if maybe you can also just tap, so if you like everything and just maybe you have a harsh edge, you can just take your ring finger and just kind of give it a little tap on the edges. And that just sets it in place and softens up the mark itself. Yeah, I need to work on some green leaves for a little bit, clear my head. I'm going a little crazy here. I'm gonna step back for just a second. Boost my confidence again.
Look at mine.
Oh,
Okay, I feel good.
yeah, so I think the greens on mine have to lighten up even more. Like the bottom right petal, the depth on that one is fine,
Mhm.
but I feel like too much green is standing out from a distance, so I have to fix that.
Need more lights.
Yeah, I think it's time to bring some of this, like this is really, really dark. So maybe bring some of your darkest up a little bit, but the colors are going good. That's a little cool. These,
Right,
yeah,
I
so.
don't have the warm, so but I have to have like a yellow to it.
Yeah.
Or yellow
Or like the creamy color,
cream,
like a
yeah, I'll
cream.
just put it on top.
Yeah, it's a little cream on top. A little cream on top.
It was a good gray green, but it was a cool one.
Yeah. Right, so I'm gonna kind of work, like I said, I'm gonna work on. That's the exact same color in a different brand. See, I guess that's how well I have my value set out. Everything is so close. Yay me, right? That's better. Now I got.
I like that purple.
Yeah, I like it too, but then I feel like it's distracting.
Standing out because
Yeah.
it's the only one, but maybe somewhere else. So I just
Yeah.
like it with the greens and the yellows.
I do too, so I'm just gonna kind of see what I can make of it. I don't know that I'll cover it all, but. So I can also, again, take this time, just like with the roses, I can take this time to sharpen up some edges where I want to with my green.
I gotta start on these.
Yeah, because it's gonna change how you feel about everything else.
Little pocket.
Yeah, so if you haven't worked on your background at all yet, you might want to go ahead and do so, just to get more information. So it's just like, I always say, if I'm drawing a picture of a person and you get one eye and it's perfect, and then now you got to go on to the other eye and nothing matches. So kind of helpful with any kind of other painting too, to just work around the whole thing. I can't wait to hear how you guys like Tony's class. I've never taken a class with him. I met him briefly at IAPS. I can't even imagine he would remember that he met me. It was one of those. This is the International Association of Pastel Societies, and they have a biannual meeting.
This is still the world international.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
And so it's a convention where you go and I went in 2019. I applied for and received a scholarship.
Is that the one where you went to New Mexico?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's in New Mexico, in Albuquerque every year,
Okay.
or every
So
2
they don't-
years, whatever it is.
Good. Cool.
Yeah. It was a very neat
You
experience.
live so close to each other. Oh, I guess everything was shut down for so long. too.
Everything was
You
shut
know,
down. Yeah, they took like a year off, so they skipped a year. So it was on the odd years, now it's on the even years.
Okay. It's not this year, it's next year.
Yes, yeah, because they had it last year.
Oh, I like your background. Okay.
Yeah, so now it's starting to come in a little bit
What do
there.
you use, an eggplant there?
I've
or
got an
something else?
eggplant in my hand right now. I had a darker evergreen and a lighter evergreen.
So the darker greens are the leaves, sort of?
Yes, sort of
Eggplants are
shaping the
the leaves.
shadow. Yep. Yep, so
The
it's
dark
got
comes
some,
in first.
yeah. It's definitely making me like my flower better overall.
Mhm. Yeah.
So this is one of those instances where you're like, wait, I don't know, if my underpainting is doing what I want it to do. Sometimes I can just leave those colors shining through and it really, really works. And sometimes it doesn't. So I'm okay with covering the majority of it. The magenta, I think if it was a magnolia that had the pinks in it, I think the magenta would have played nicely. But I don't think it's working the way I want it to. So I'm happy to just cover it up.
You're talking about the backgrounds.
Yeah. Did it again. I put that stick aside. I keep grabbing the same stick. Did anybody, I just heard my email. Has anybody emailed me anything? Just so I know.
No.
No.
My landscaper just came in to say goodbye, that they were finished.
Yeah.
And he looked at my painting and he goes, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Nothing."
Just having fun, learning,
That's what I
playing.
said.
So
Learning
this is,
how-
say it again.
learning how to see a little differently.
Yeah. Takes time. That's all.
Yeah, it really does.
I think I'll be 90 years old and still going, oh my gosh, I just realized this. The more I work and the more I just kind of pay attention, you just,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
And there's so much more. I know that I'm so far, there's so many people that are, that much further along. It's just practice, practice, practice. So I'm bringing in some lighter greens. I haven't brought in those yellows yet. So those, let's see what time it is. Okay, we got 45 minutes. So, before the end, I will definitely be taking a nice yellow and giving it a quick roll along some of the leaves because they do have that nice yellow pop, as a light green pop for some of the veining.
Mhm.
Now that can get it can force your painting to go a little tighter. So just play with it. If you want it to go tighter, great. If you don't, do it very gingerly and sparingly so you don't overdo it.
It'll be interesting to see if your style changes any going over it, Lily. Don't you think?
Right? I don't know. We'll see what I see and
Yeah.
Where
it
we're-
might be influenced. or
Yeah.
something, Right.
yeah. I don't know. It's just gonna be so much. I'll be like an overload,
Mm.
like taking it all in. So nice bit of blue green in there.
Pretty.
And again, I'm just, playing with backgrounds usually just helps me clear my head. And it's,
Mhm.
I, especially in florals and still life, and portraiture, I very rarely make a background. It's more of a bit of color or, it's not necessarily a specific thing. So, it really helps relieve some tension, especially in a portrait. so much pressure to get it just so. But then you can just kind of loosen up and go a little crazy in the background and. Darken that up a little bit. So this one, there's a little bit of light shining from a couple different places, but for the most part, it's coming from the upper left and working its way down. And there's not a lot of it. So, when we did the roses, there wasn't a lot of direct light there either. But so you just want to be consistent with your light is all. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just consistent. I'm gonna stand back and clean off my hands. So now's the time I have to stop more often. It's great. The green really helps. Yeah, it's kind of pull some stuff together. It makes it pop a little, right? Yeah. It is kind of funny to see my painting next to the photograph, and then you can see how far away or how close to the photograph you get. I'm not a big, I don't want to copy things exactly from photo, but there's an overall feel that you get, an overall curve to the petals and the leaves, and that's the type of thing that I want to create. I might even wonder if I would do this again and just go directly and paint in and see which one I like better.
Like without the underpainting.
Yeah. I say that, but I have four unfinished demos in my room here, and
You're like us.
yeah. Well, I started so
Maybe we should have a finish up day.
we should have a finish
Finish
up
up
day.
day.
In May, this week, next week isn't bad, but then all through May, I'm teaching 3 days in a row, which is a lot for me. I don't normally teach that much at once, but so the days that I probably would finish a demo, I'm teaching again something else. So I'm starting a new demo, and then they pile.
Bothering me about this. It's gray.
It's right there on the desk. Okay.
Now, are you doing this one in May or no?
Yeah,
What are you?
I'm gonna do just landscape. So working
Okay.
on things like
Yeah.
composition,
Mhm.
maybe even an exercise in there of like painting trees, just like a day of painting trees. Because that seems to always be a little tricky, or it
Mhm.
can be a little tricky. So yeah, I'm gonna send out a newsletter. That's too cool. I'm gonna send out a newsletter probably over the weekend, and I'll have the flyer out for that, and then some more info, because then that'll be kind of the May class. So I have the Zoom, and then I have a night class at Pine Shores. The next day is Sea Isle, and then there's a weekend workshop at Pine Shores, and then that's it until August for Long Beach Island. And I don't think I'm gonna do Zoom in August, because there's also up at the Ocean County Artists Guild. I think I have a Friday class for there.
Well, you got your son to take her to school and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's just it. So I don't know how that's all gonna go and what we're gonna be moving him around, and
When does he have to be up there? The 20 something?
I don't know. I'm terrible to figure that out.
I mean,
Yeah,
Unless they're like.
well, if
Unless they're, like,
marching,
after-
if he's doing marching, he'll have
Oh,
to be
yeah,
there
he'll be
earlier,
early.
like mid-August kind of thing.
Okay, so now I need a hard pastel, that's where I am right now, right?
Yeah,
go back
yeah,
in.
go back with a little bit of a hard, I don't even, this is kind of a gray, but I kind of like what it's. I'm just, again, going over another layer to kind of soften out some of the darkness. But before I touch it, I'm gonna step back
You're
before
gonna
I
go-
blend
You're gonna go
anything.
dark to light again with the new pastel, is that right?
Well, this is a light one, so yeah, I'm trying to settle down. Some of the darkness got a little too much.
So I'm gonna go dark first with the new pastel, then light, or no?
No, you go to the light new pastel because you have so much dark.
Okay.
But you can start if you have a new pastel that's light blue.
I do. Like here. And I have gray. and white.
Alright, so stay away from the gray.
Cream, and then
Cream.
white over there.
Yeah, so those, start with the
Right there.
cream and the whites before doing blues. Stay away from the grays. You don't want it to dull things down.
Okay. And I'm just doing,
Just to settle some things. Like how like my darker leaves were too dark, and I think you're
Mine
darker
are
in the
too,
same
right?
ones, yeah. Yeah,
are you saving white for just the lightest whites?
I did do a little white on top of
The tips.
most, yeah, the tips and the, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I have to decide with all those nice folds and stuff. Some of them stand out a little more than others. So it's just like clouds, when you want a cloud to get whiter, you might have to put something darker underneath. So I have to, we're watching the value shifts. You're watching how we go into, you have the nice sharp light against a little bit of dark. So those are the things I'm kind of watching for right now. I don't like sharp lines all the time, but sometimes you just gotta force one in there.
And you kind of just did this in, right?
Yeah,
It doesn't really sit on top.
It does not, so you just kind of have to force its way in. Son's allergies are terrible. He's the one in the family that gets them the worst, so I let him stay home today. To which my daughter's very mad at me
Of
for.
course.
Sorry, Charlie, you gotta go.
I used to have one like that too, and then we stopped.
Really?
Yeah. My kids, I guess.
Mm. I don't, sometimes I get them real bad and sometimes I don't. I don't really know if there's a rhyme or reason why, sometimes they're worse. That's not where I wanted to work. I do like to check myself on screen a lot because to check the work, not even just against the reference photo, but on screen,
Yeah.
I can just see things a little bit differently. So you guys can always just take a photo for yourself and look at your photograph and see how it feels. That's always a good idea.
No,
Of course, sometimes the photograph is wonky, so you have to make a decision whether it's the photograph or if it's the painting. Because I have a lot of times, some of the lighter sticks really reflect off the lights and cause a whole different effect to happen. And sometimes it's just wrong.
Mhm.
I have to adjust. I guess I have to work a little bit on the that inside of the flower. I've been avoiding it, if you haven't noticed. Not that we haven't had enough to keep us busy, but just really haven't. I'm still avoiding it. Look at me go. Still not doing it. All right, so I have to decide here. How am I going to tackle inside? Stepping back again.
I have such nice yellow, green.
Mm. Oh, yeah. That looks good. It's real good.
How do you blend it?
Well, I went through and did I covered them all with
Mhm.
something lighter, and then I did end up kind of touching it,
With-
and then I went over it again and
Okay.
I haven't touched it. So,
Okay.
you know, you just have to make that decision.
Yeah, because I don't really know.
Yeah. And it could just be a textural thing that you're not happy with,
Right,
and
that's
then,
it.
yeah.
Renee, I sent you mine just because I'm conscious of time and want to make sure that you at least get a
Yeah.
first look to
Okay.
help me
Let me pull that up.
improve it. None of it's finished, but
That's okay.
right.
I'm nowhere near finished.
Yeah, but yours unfinished looks a lot different than ours. Or
Mine
mine.
too.
I shouldn't speak for anyone else because I can't see anyone else.
No, I'm right there with you.
All right.
I don't like my stamen in the middle at all.
Well, I mean, I haven't given you any direction at all on that, so I can't, you know, yours.
Well,
the-
I just, the shape of it is a little bit erotic.
I think, yeah, you just need to shorten up the bottom, fatten it up a little bit, and then, you know,
Right.
with your lighter colors. But I love that foreground petal. I love the softness of that little swath of light that you brought down right across the front. That looks really nice. Some of the shadow shapes, like yours right in here, is reading really dark. It may not be too dark. It might just be the photograph, because as soon as I pointed to mine, I was like, oh, mine looks pretty dark too. So just kind of keep that in mind if it stands
Yeah.
out to you later. But I love
Yeah.
you're making some really nice soft markings on there that's keeping the softness intact with the petals. Overall, I think you're going in the right direction. I don't have any corrections for you to make. You already see that the shape of the stamen needs to be adjusted. Other than that, I mean,
For the
you're pretty
seed,
good to
whatever.
go there.
What about the values? That's where I struggle. So
Okay, so the values aren't far off. This petal, the one to the here, hold on, I'll share this screen.
oh yeah,
so-
that I haven't even touched. I mean, that I've only done the base. layer.
Oh, okay. All right, good. So yeah, that's the only one that really stands out as really too dark. Yeah. Everything else is building correctly.
I just put it in black and white to see.
Oh yeah, that's always helpful too.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
welcome.
And I don't
Okay,
think,
so
I
yeah.
think I'll leave my leaves as yeah.
Yeah, so like, you know, the value shifts, everything is going along nicely. I like the way this is building too. Because even though I can kind of see the line there, it's a line between light and dark. and it's forming nicely. Some of the lines are still a little line-ish, but you're not finished. So, but you know, if you just kind of keep going in the direction you are, I think you're going to be just fine. Good.
Thanks.
Uh-huh.
Thanks.
Okay. And my aunt always sends me these emails about, she's retired and sends me a lot of articles. She doesn't, and she doesn't have children, and she's a little bit of a hypochondriac. And so she's always sending helpful articles for me.
I sent you mine, Renee.
Okay,
It's a little bit colorful.
good. Well, color's good. Color's good.
Need a break.
That's fine too. I mean, it's already 11 o'clock. We've done a lot of work. It hasn't come through just yet. Let me refresh again. Oh, it went to spam. Let me grab that.
It's all there. It's just not finessed.
Oh, I like it. Your shapes and your drawings have, that's definitely looks wonderful. Big improvement. Hold on a second. Let me
Well, it's an improvement over last week for sure. I washed that off and I reprinted the photograph, just one flower, and I blew it up really big. I just haven't painted it yet.
Let me share the screen here. Okay. That I love the greens and these two here. Those look really nice, and the blues are nice and soft up top. I really like those. The bottom blues are a little strong, and some of it could be the reflection of, you know, when you take a photograph of blue, it can kind of like really enhance it. I find that happens a lot with me. But if it is really that blue, then just start to neutralize it a little bit. Maybe even with the gray. I know I've been saying to stay away from gray this whole time, but that one might need a little gray to tone it down. But the shape of all the leaves are great. I mean, of all the petals are great. The leaves, look for some more evergreen greens, some more like Christmassy greens. It does have a little bit of that yellowish in it, but not that much just yet. But as you're building them, they're not wrong. I wouldn't get rid of anything that you've done, but just as you're building them. I like how some of your folds are working.
They look
Yeah,
like apparently I could
Yeah.
paint those.
No, I think it looks much better than what you've been describing all along. So, yeah, no,
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I like the little bit of pink she's got there too.
Hold on, I'll pull it back up.
I'm on the very
Just
edge.
or fuchsia, or maybe it's orangey red. I don't know, but it catches my eye. Yeah, there.
Oh,
And again,
yeah,
might need
That's
the
somebody, but
underpainting.
yeah, that's the underpainting coming through. Yeah.
Thank you for
So
your.
there you go.
feedback.
That worked. The underpainting part worked for that.
Yeah.
It's nice. Yeah, I really, you know what? I mean, I can see where you're talking about like the whole clamshell thing. but I know what we're painting and I think it's a really successful petal. I know you think clamshell, but it's also a really successful magnolia petal.
Thank
I like
you. Shape better up here.
All right, so for the next few minutes, I'm gonna work on my center
I'm gonna go get a couple.
before I call it a day. Oh, wait, real fast. Let me do a little bit of. So I have a round one, and I do, if you have a round one, you probably want to do a round one. I'm gonna take it and just roll and drag. So
For the highlights.
yeah, well, for the little yellow
Oh,
edges,
yeah, nice.
see if some of the or some of the leaves have that little.
Did you blend any of these?
No, I did not blend any of the leaves.
They're kind of soft.
Yeah, I mean, and this is one of those times where it's like, well, you could,
The details in the flower.
yeah, but you could put. Well, the center is a different green. Hold on.
Mm.
Like these. You could start to put some of the veining in there. Just highlight it a little bit. I mean, on camera it looks fine. In person, I'm not so keen on the veining, but I always like that little pop that some of these have. With the kind of like a drag and roll all at the same time. It's a bit much. That's make that work. So, but you know what? That kind of also really helps the background. I think that really,
Yeah.
works really nicely with the background. Right now, the only thing that's really terrible is the center. So let's work on that. Get some light. That looks cool.
So you put some pink in yours, right?
I did use the really, really light pink, the new pastel with the cream in a couple of places. Not that you can really tell. There's only,
No, I just
you can
brightened
kind of
it, I
see it a
think.
little bit. I think
Yeah.
the combo, brightened it just a
Oh,
touch.
all right.
Okay, so now I've got the nice light value, a little bit of dark growing in there. Okay, how do I want to tackle this? Grabbing a new pastel. I'm gonna start with a nice little upward motion. Of that darkness, because I know those little boogers are going straight up, so I can start there. Next, this is for general, so this is really, really hard. But I want to, so I have a soft pastel, a little bit of that orange in that line. So now I want to take a harder stick and kind of move it a little bit. Just very gently. I need something else. This is another one of those places that will help emphasize the shapes of the petals. I have to be careful though, because again, these generals, I have another general in my hand. General is a brand that, you can get at the craft stores. They have a tendency to be super, even way harder than new pastel. So this little curve, hold on, my head's gonna get in the way, I apologize. I have to kind of see from the side here, see where the tip is kind of touching. Okay. Soften it a little. I don't, a little bit of sharpness is great. Too sharp is not Literally the same color. Let me go a little darker. That is the one downside of the hard sticks, is they look a lot darker than they are.
Mm.
Here we go. Now. When I'm doing stuff like this, I set my pinky down so my pinky nail touches the painting. And then that way it kind of works as like a maul stick to keep myself in line here. Just gonna kind of drag that hint of those little details in the center there. Just using the green for a minute. Then I'll switch to a little bit of orange, pulling that up. Connecting them. It's not really the right color. But it's the right value. And then I can get some more yellowy in there. Some orange up in here too. More of that brown. More brown. So for me, it's just like when I'm working on an iris, I always end up feeling like I went too detailed and too stringy and too liney, and then I got to bring it back. So that's literally what I'm doing, getting a little too tight, and then I'm gonna loosen it back up. That happens a lot. All right, now I gotta go back to my cream. That's too white. Hold on. Do I have? Wait, is this darker? Slightly darker. I don't know if it's gonna do what I need it to though. Yeah, maybe. So, all right, now I'm gonna get a soft. I was just trying to softly, very, very softly hint at the little tops of
The bottom.
the
part?
bottom part.
Yeah.
Yeah, that little fat part down.
Just the roundness of them.
Yeah. Because I have the little darker lines, still not scratching.
Mhm.
And they do have a nice little yellowy glow. It's the same exact color. You would think I've never seen my sticks before, that I keep picking up the same color. Those have sparkles. I don't want sparkles. Maybe I do want sparkles. Let's see.
Renee, when do you go to Italy?
I'm sorry, what?
When do you go to Italy?
The end of June through the beginning of July. So I'll be gone for 10 days.
Nice.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun. My brother-in-law just sent me the finalized itinerary while we were in class. But it's even better because they're planning everything. So I'm
That's
just
the best
along for the
part.
ride.
My brother-in-law did something similar with my daughter and my niece. He took them both to Japan
Oh, wow.
for 10 days, and they said it was the most magnificent trip they've ever had in their lives, and they've both traveled a lot.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and Gabby keeps saying she wants to go for her trip. She wants it to be someplace tropical. She just wants to go to a tropical beach. I'm like, are you sure?
Well, there's Costa Rica. That's a pretty cool place.
Yeah,
Have the best of everything there.
Well, I want her to pick somewhere, even if I'm not going, I just want her to pick somewhere that there's something for her to do other than sit on the beach. I think she'll get super bored.
Yeah.
She will only be 18 at the time, so it's like, not like you're going out to the clubs, darling. Well, maybe in some places,
Yeah.
I don't know. But she'll be with her two uncles that are, 50 some odd years old. I don't know how much she's gonna like that. But that part. Oh, I do like the pink a lot.
Yeah.
That's looking wonderful. You soften those values really, really nicely.
I'm just not happy with this thing right here. But I'll figure it out.
Yeah, that value's still a little dark.
It's still dark and the shape is not right.
So when you
The
go,
shape should be, it's not curved. It should be this way. It's a separate leaf, right?
yeah,
Yep, okay. I'll figure it out.
I think I'm gonna leave mine be for a little bit. I feel like I'm over it for my brain capacity today. I'm gonna take the spotlight off myself. And if anybody wants to hold theirs up, or you want to hold yours up for everyone, we can do that. I'll put mine kind of straight on for a second too. Sometimes that. I still have a little work to do. I mean, I'm definitely am gonna work on the leaves. And straight on, I'm still not 100% convinced that my values are exactly where I want them to be. I feel like some of them can go a little bit lighter in the green. The petals that have more green on them. At some point very soon, I will ditch looking at the reference photo.
Yeah.
And go with what I feel, because again, me trying to copy a photo exactly isn't my goal ever anyway. So if I know that I can get the curvature and the folds and the petals and the softness of the petals, that's really all I care about. Whether it matches exactly or not, it's not really a concern. So that's where I am. And again, I'll send, oh wait, did I send you guys?
Yeah,
I
that
did.
was good.
Okay.
The roses?
The other roses.
Yeah, they came out good.
So yeah, whatever I finish, I will send to you guys as well.
When did you send
Soon.
you did send the roses, you said?
Did I?
Yeah.
I did. Okay,
I
I
don't
did.
rem-
Did you see them online though, or did you see them in an email?
I don't remember getting them.
Get
You
it
might
in
have. I think I posted it. Hold on, let me
Yeah,
pull
you
it up.
might have posted it.
On
Yeah, you did. That's what I
Instagram.
thought. You didn't send it
Yeah,
to
I
me.
put it up on Insta. All right, here's what I'm gonna do. First of all, I'm gonna stop the recording because I think we're good for recording purposes. And then I'll